It was only sold from the 1951 through the 1954 model year, was designed as low-cost transportation, and lacked many routine features. For instance, there's no trunk lid to get into the rear storage compartment. It has fixed rear windows and also lacks armrests and a glove box. Brian DeFrancisco of Torrington, Connecticut, inherited his two-door 1951 Henry J when his father died in late 2021.
This was basically your modern-day economy car. It was a flathead four-cylinder, 3-speed manual transmission that they advertised to get over 30 miles a gallon, which back in the 50s was pretty much unheard of.
Kaiser Fraser Corporation built the Henry J. It was named after company head Henry J. Kaiser.
So these cars were only made for 4 years. Most of them were cut up and made into drag race cars, hot rods back in the 60s and 70s, and there's very, very few left that are basically still an original vehicle.
DeFrancisco's father purchased the Henry J in the early 1980s with some help from his son.
My father's cousin had one years ago, and I always liked the car, and there was none around, and I kept scouring all the classified ads and came across this vehicle when I was 12 or 13 years old in the Waterbury paper. It was a little tiny ad that said a 1951 Henry J, runs but does not move, for $750.
The car had been sitting in a garage for decades.
Basically rust-free as you see it now, other than faded paint, with a bad transmission. My father bought the car, drove it home all the way to Torrington in first and third gear without second gear.
After giving it new paint and finding a replacement transmission at a junkyard in Plymouth, DeFrancisco's father drove it, but eventually lost interest and parked it.
Ever since then, the car's basically been sitting in the garage for the last 40 years until my father passed away last year and left me the car with the agreement I would never cut it up and make a hot rod, and kept it original.
It didn't take much to get it running.
This car's basically been unseen for the last 40 years or so. It's been tucked away. But fresh gas, new plugs, and a couple of prayers, and she fired right up, and here I am.
The Henry J is powered by a 134 cubic inch 4-cylinder engine.
It's not a speed demon car. It's basically a 1950s economy car. I mean, it gets from point A to point B, top speeds about 65 miles an hour at best, pushing it.
It does have its shortcomings, such as the lack of easy access to the rear storage area due to the absence of a trunk lid.
And God forbid you ever got a flat tire, the spare, the jack, and the lug wrench are all tucked away in the back corner over here. It's almost impossible to get it out.
An undriven, hidden gem for most of its existence, the Henry J was taken to a car show in August 1985, where it was an award winner and noticed by the then Waterbury Republican.
Pretty much the first and only car show this car's ever been to was the Goshen Fairgrounds car show. And it made it in as one of the top 3 cars back in 1985 for rarity back then. I still have the original article here. Pretty much since then, it's really never been to any other car shows until I got it on the road earlier this year and took it out to a couple of shows. But it's definitely been an unkept secret, this car.
And it was at a car show in downtown Torrington that Ride Connecticut spotted it last July.
Probably at a car show, most people have never seen one, or they remember them just as hot rods, you know, back 40, 50 years ago. So to have an all-original Henry J is definitely a standout at any car show or cruise night.
That's Ride Connecticut. I'm Bud Wilkinson, and if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to Ride Connecticut's YouTube channel.